Agency in Motion continuing series. This is a series designed specifically for agents, advisors, producers, as well as agency builders in the financial services industry. And today's episode really concentrates on the 32 essential top skills that top performing agents have. And number one on that list is bigger is going to be greater, or bigger is better than more. And what that simply means is a lot of people in this industry, a lot of agents, they believe that closing the highest number of sales, writing the most applications, is the key to reaching their targets. What's often overlooked is that variable of making bigger sales. So recognize the immense opportunity to secure larger and larger transactions on a consistent basis. And by focusing on maximizing, the size of each sale, you're going to unlock higher profitability, increased commissions, and ultimately greater earnings. The simple idea of this right here, which is bigger is better than more, is one of the most important sales strategies that can help you not only increase, but really grow wealth inside this industry. Number two on the list is target prospects with money. It's kind of builds on the first one. While it may seem obvious, it's vital to target only the prospects who have the financial capacity to invest in whatever it is that you're offering. Trying to sell to prospects without the means to buy from you is like trying to squeeze like blood from a turnip. Instead, prioritize prospects that are going to be more likely to have the budget necessary to make the investment in working with you and your products and services. The target approach ensures that you connect with the right type of prospects who can afford your solution. And that's an obvious requirement to closing more sales, making more money, and being a top performing agent. Number three, you cannot stop until you find the triggers that suggest pain. So if you're discussing and you're having a conversation with a potential client who's a prospect at this point, and you've only got them into 1, 2, 3, 4 of this scale, then you haven't done your job. You cannot stop. You have to get to the higher end of the scale. You have to find the triggers that suggest pain, because once again, once the pain point is found, then you can come in with solutions and action steps to solve that problem. Hope this makes sense. This is very, very, very important. Number four, you got to learn to prospect in your sleep. So if you want to maximize your prospecting efforts, you got to leverage everything that we have access to today, which is automation tools, sales systems, online marketing. These cutting edge modern day strategies will help increase sales. Instead of confirming your prospects to like labor intensive hours, utilizing sales automation to reach out before you ever even speak to them. So while you're not quote unquote working, other things are working inside your business, and that's going to create leads, and that's going to engage your leads in the process. So by the time you get around to waking up, you've got things to do, you've got people to talk to, and you can concentrate on income producing activities. Number five, you got to understand, you got to know that you bring real value to the table. If you're new, then you should be working with a team of people who can help bring that value, but you got to recognize and embrace the value that you bring to your prospects in the sales process. So shed the belief that you're merely, talking your prospects during the sales interaction by understanding that you're genuinely enhancing their lives, you're bringing value. That should give you confidence, and that gives you authenticity, and that gives you trust and credibility in the sales process. This mindset ultimately is going to lead to higher closing rates. Number six, don't just get down to the last part and have the decision whether or not to do business with you. Offer multiple options, offer 3 options. This is one of the most effective sales strategies that you can take on and adapt to becoming a top agent. So you got to force the decision-making process. Is it, it's not to do business with you or not to do business with you. Maybe it's different ways they can do business with you, but you've got to get them in the context of the decision-making process and force them to make decisions. Number 7, identify and find a niche. So you need to avoid the common pitfall of trying to sell to everyone. That's an exhausting sales process. Instead, you got to identify specific niches or targeted markets that align with your expertise. Who's your persona? Who are you talking with, speaking their language? Who do you know where to find them? It's all going back to one of the core things that we've talked about before, which is the persona. Focusing on serving these niche markets enables you to understand the unique needs and then tailor the approach accordingly to that persona. By positioning yourself not as a random salesperson, but as a specialist, you enhance the credibility, you continue to establish that rapport, and you're going to not try, but start to attract clients who are willing to pay a premium for your services. Number 8, you got to leverage some type of a process. The vast majority of agents out there are just winging it when they go out to sell. So it's no surprise that most salespeople and business owners just making up the sales process as they go along. However, one of the most important sales skills to leverage is a tried and true process for selling. And that can't just be done on the fly while you're talking to the people. Maybe you've read a couple books, maybe been to a couple webinars, but without a concrete step-by-step process that you can follow and follow consistently, you're not going to be able to be a top performing agent. You're going to struggle with the sales process. However, having that process you can leverage again and again and again is an integral part of the sales process. And once again, creating a skill set to become a top performing agent. Number 9, you've got to demonstrate insight, and you've got to demonstrate that insight upfront as quickly as possible. When there's no value presented at the start of a selling situation, the prospect gets really frustrated. When it comes to having conversations with prospects, whether they're in the warm market or the cold market, one of the single most important sales skills is to demonstrate real insight upfront. Consider what piece of content you can share with them. If you're doing well, if you're helping people, if you've got news articles, whatever it is, not talking about pricing and not talking about how long your company's been in business, but it should be a piece of real valuable content that will get them willing to open up to you and start to answer their questions. And then know the questions. Once you get to the questions, you got to know the questions. So once you've demonstrated insight up front and it's been recognized, it's time to ask the right questions. You got to ask the right questions. Why? To disqualify prospects. Save your time. One of the most important sales skills you can ever develop is simply knowing what those questions are, having them memorized, and being super comfortable in the situation, asking them. Most prospects will come to you with the same type of similar situations or challenges if you're in the same persona. So then you should have a set of consistent questions that you ask to take them through the process of either qualifying or, more importantly, disqualifying. Dig way deeper, you guys. This is an important skill, and probably one of the biggest differentiators between an average agent and a top performing agent. Your ability to dig deeper when the prospect is answering your questions has a tremendous impact on the ability to sell that client, bring them on. The ability to dig deeper is a high-level sales skill that demonstrates that you really know what you're talking about. It also helps the prospect identify the real value of working with you. So it's really important. Then hold your ground. Some prospects are inevitably going to resist you, the sales process, everything you're trying to do. When that prospect starts to push back on any part of your process, most agents, they just cave in. But what you have to understand is that is only going to revert you back into like an old school pitch mode. Instead, what you have to understand and implement is in sales, you have to master simply holding your ground, sticking to your process, and going through that process. Number 13, show that you can actually solve their problems. Demonstrate that you can solve challenges that your prospect mentioned in the early part of the conversation. When you're able to show that you can solve these challenges, this prospect will see the value that you actually bring to the table. This is one of the most important sales skills that you can ever master, and it's going to help you close more and more deals than that standard pitch that so many people use. Number 14, you have to be obsessed with next action steps. The more obsessed you are with next action steps in every part of your marketing and your conversations, the better off you're going to be. Consistently starting to schedule next steps is one of the single most important skills that you can develop as an agent. Many agents, in this process, they fall apart because there's absolutely no scheduled next step. It's just left up to whatever happens. When you're in that situation, it's very hard because you've created more work for yourself in the follow-up process just to get the next action step scheduled. Once you learn to do this on a consistent basis, it's a simple skill set, but it's very, very, very valuable. Use case studies, whether it's for you, the clients that you've already helped, or the company that you're representing, the products that you're representing. Make sure that the prospect that you're speaking to understands how either you or we have helped similar people in their situation, that gets them interested and gets them confident in your ability to help them with their problems. Number 16, bird's eye view. As agents, we work with the same type of people, hopefully. So we're going to get an insight into their lives because we talk to so many of them. We've heard every one of their problems. We've heard all their challenges. Your prospect that you're speaking with at that time, on the other hand, only sees their own circumstances. Remember, they're stuck in their own life. Your job is to remove them, kind of help them get a bird's eye view to show them what's actually going on, to help them clearly see the challenges that they're facing, and then leverage that bird's eye view for success. Number 17, seek to understand and then be understood. In order to be a really, really great agent, you're going to need to understand what's going on in the prospect's world. Talking about solutions, offerings, features, or benefits is really a waste of time and energy if you don't seek to understand your prospect first. Slow the conversation down and really get the prospect talking. Seek to understand what's truly going on, not at surface level, but below the surface. Then once you can do that, you're able to take those challenges and their problems and link those to the solutions that you actually offer. Number 18, know the challenges. Agents often think in terms of benefits they offer the prospects, but the reality is that your prospects, they're not looking for the benefits that you're offering. They're looking for you to solve their challenges and bring solutions to the problems they're facing. Benefits are just the tip of the iceberg. And once again, great agents don't focus on the features or the benefits. They dig deeply into the challenges, identify the problems, and then usher in a solution. Once you've identified the problems and the challenges, solve only the challenges. Your prospect only cares about their specific challenges, what they're facing. Stop talking about any features that are outside the scope of what they're trying to do. Only focus on the key issues that your prospect has mentioned previously. Anything else is just a distraction. Prospects don't need to buy all the things that you offer. They just need to focus on what's important to them. Through this process of educating, consulting, sales, whatever it is that you want to call it, you got to keep them engaged. And that's number 20. One of the key components of being a good agent is the ability to have a real two-way conversation with lots of back and forth, like a ping pong game or a tennis match. The more that you keep your prospect engaged in the conversation by bringing them back into the fold, letting them ask questions, asking them questions, the better you're going to be, the better results that you're going to see. Approach the conversation between two people who are genuinely interested in what each person has to say. If that's the case, the more that you can get into conversations like that, the more easier it is you're going to find to take them through the entire process, including closing the sale. Guys, this is a game. Number 21 is identify and understand that you have to play the game and then have fun playing the game. One of the most important parts of learning how to be a good agent is simply enjoying playing the game of sales. If you don't like the game of selling, the back and forth conversations, the competitive nature, the fact that people are not always going to be nice, they're going to say no, they're going to be rude, then don't be in sales. It's not an easy game, but it's an enjoyable game if you understand and look at it from the point of view as a sport. If you stick around with the long term, and if you understand and identify and have fun with this, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be successful. Number 22, just understand they can't hurt you. This mindset is crucial if you want to learn how to be a better agent, close more sales. You have to always remember that the prospect actually cannot physically harm you, especially in today's selling world where most of us are doing this virtually anyway. Prospects can't hurt you if you're making a prospecting call or if you're on a Zoom meeting, the prospect gets mad, that's okay. Disconnect, leave. They get annoyed, that's fine. It's done. Move on. 23, you got to take these prospects off the pedestals. Many agents, what they do is put their prospects on a pedestal because they're actually a lead. They have some type of value to them on the front side. They look at the prospect as some magical beings that could possibly be a client. But what you have to understand is they're just people. So they're going to have their good days. They're going to have their bad days. They all have certain qualities that may seem impressive on the front side, but I guarantee they also have some weird, pathetic, other qualities too, because they're only human. Humans are just humans. Once you learn to take them on a pedestal and talk with them, get them to open up. This process becomes a lot easier just to sort. Number 24, it's about them 100% of the time. Nobody cares about you. Make the conversation 100% about them. Agents often have the inclination to talk about the company, themselves, go into some early sales pitch. But the reality is that your prospects, they don't care about any of that. All they care about is themselves. And the quicker you understand that, the easier this becomes. The more you gear the sales conversation towards your prospect and their challenges, the more likely they're going to see value in what you bring to the table. Continue the conversation. Number 25, you've got to get potential clients talking as soon as possible. Your potential clients actually want to share what's going on in the world, believe it or not. They want to share what's important to them. They want to talk. They want to, give you the information that you need. So the more that you can get them talking, especially early on, the better off this whole process is going to be. Effective agents have to nail this skill. If you want to learn how to be a better agent, talking less is a great place to begin. If you start every single sales conversation by giving a monologue, prospects, within a few seconds, going to be turned off, they tune out, and they're just going to shut down. Get them talking as soon as possible. Number 26, arm yourself with research. Having the research under your belt enables you to demonstrate your value. It gives your prospects permission to allow you to go a little bit further in the sales conversation. That's important, getting their permission to go forward, making sure they're with you. Start the conversation by demonstrating that you understand the specific needs of the core persona. The more insight you have into the prospect's world, the better and more comfortable they're going to feel in doing business with you. Number 27, your prospects care about what's important to them. And that should be the most important thing that you care about when talking about them. Average agents, they ask some questions, they find out what's going on to a degree, but then they really don't go deeply as they should. Top performing agents, they start to, dig deeply to get prospects talking. And that's where the real value is. The more deeply your prospect can go, the better off you're going to be in identifying the pain point, the triggers, and offering a solution. Pitching, guys, is an old school art form. We don't want to pitch to our clients. Instead, we want to engage them in a conversation. We want to understand what's going on in the world. If you have something you want to share with them early on, that's fine. Just make sure that you share it in a way that's meant to engage them and spark the conversation, get them talking. To become a better agent, you must realize you're not there to pitch. You're there to engage the prospect in a conversation and to start to understand what's going on in their world. 29, there's no need to persuade, guys. Just as you don't need to pitch, you don't really need to persuade your prospects to do business with you. Prospects are smart. They don't need to be persuaded. They don't need to be convinced. What they need is to determine whether there's a good fit in working with you. They want to see that you're the right fit for them. Remember, it's not about persuading, rather than engaging them in a conversation, asking the important questions, digging deeper, helping them understand exactly where they're hurting, what's going on, what they really care about, and ultimately to get what they want and how you fit into the picture. Number 30, don't focus on the close. Focus on the opportunities here. Sales is not just about a close. It's about everything leading up to the point of the close. What you say in the close is not the most important thing. And it's almost, inconsequential, let's say. And what you're saying at the beginning of the interaction, the questions that you're asking, the discovery during the presentation, all of those things matter the most because it's leading them to a decision. And hopefully it's a fork in the road. Am I going to continue down this old way or go this new path? Here's the key if you want to become a better and better, more successful agent. By the time the close comes around, if you've done a good job up until that point, you should never have to use the fancy close technique or persuading them. They should understand the value, recognize the value, and be ready to pounce on the value. 31, you have to absolutely know your discovery questions. We talked about the questions a little bit earlier, but knowing your discovery questions up front is really, really important. When you're face-to-face, you're on the phone, you're on Zoom, whatever it might be, you should know exactly what those discovery questions are going to be. You should never be thinking about while you're on the phone or the meeting with them, while they're talking, what am I going to say next? What am I going to ask next? If you're to that point, then that conversation, that meeting's already a failure. Don't be thinking about what comes next. Know your discovery questions so you're 100% focused on the prospect. This is absolutely crucial. And then finally, guys, number 32 is be willing to make mistakes. Remember, look foolish in the name of progress. If you really want to know how to become a better and better agent, it's important that you're willing to go out and make the upfront mistakes necessary to pave the way towards success. Be willing to mess up. Don't be worried about messing up. If you mess up, so what? Chances are, your prospects, they're not even going to notice. Be willing to make those mistakes. Go out and just be focused on improving what you do. Be focused on the prospect. Be focused on the process, and stop being afraid of making mistakes. So those were the 32 essential skill sets of top performing agents. Agency in motion, building, operating, managing agencies in the 21st century.